Tuesday at 2 p.m. Is this the ROMKids Show? Howdy everyone, nice to see you and welcome back. This is the Royal Ontario Museum sort of distance learning initiative, so if you want to hang out with us for roughly the next 30 minutes, do some arts, tell some stories about science, art, and history, that's what we're all about. My name's Kieran, I run the kids camps at the ROM, and we're going to hang out with you. We have a very special guest with us today. Dr. Fahmida Suleman is joining us, a curator at the Royal Ontario Museum. We're going to talk about a brand new exhibit coming to the ROM all about masks, something that we're all very familiar with now. We're going to talk about the history of mask usage, specifically to protect us. And then we're going to talk about a couple really amazing stories that are going to be featured in this exhibit. So I'm really excited about that. I hope everyone had a really wonderful Earth Day last Thursday. Of course, last week on the show we had ornithologist Mark Peck on talking about the importance of protecting our world from climate change and plastics. We even made what I think is one of the cooler activities we ever did. We made these jellyfish, which look surprisingly exactly like jellyfish, except it's made out of a plastic bag. And we learned how plastic bags are a serious issue in our waterways. So remember, we're live Tuesdays at 2 on Instagram, and we're also on YouTube later in the week. So if you are watching from your virtual classroom or from your kitchen or from wherever you are, hello, hello, hello. Nice to welcome you back again. Thanks for doing this with us. If you were watching on YouTube later, hey, what's going on? Nice to hang out with you at a later time. We are going to be talking about masks. We're even going to decorate our own mask today as well, and we're going to do a demonstration about the importance of wearing masks as well. So with that said, I feel ready to do the theme song portion of the event. Welcome to the ROMKids Show with me. We'll do some crafts and tell some stories. Let's talk about science, art and history. Welcome to the ROMKids Show, starring you and me. There we go. That's the theme song portion of the event, all taken care of. Let's move right over to the art table. Hello, 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 everyone in the chat. Please feel to drop in your questions about masks today. Very excited to have you all here talking about masks. So I made this really cute one the other day. So here I got myself a nice little mask right here. And then look at this, watch what happens. Whoa, the neck gets longer. Look at that. So what the materials that you need for our mask decoration activity time with us is you need a mask that you can decorate and you need a mask that you don't actually need. So for example, the mask that we're using today, they're just extras. I don't need to use them. I have others. Okay, because as soon as you decorate your mask is no longer effective at keeping you safe, okay? Does that make sense? Whatever mask that you decorate on today, it can't be a mask that you need to use, because as soon as you start applying Sharpies and decorations to your mask, you don't make it effective at keeping you safe anymore, all right? So it has to be a bonus mask that you can decorate. And if you don't have a mask that you can decorate, consider getting a piece of paper, cutting out a little rectangle, and then decorate that. Because we're gonna talk about the symbolism and stories that masks can tell. So while you're grabbing your materials, it's time to introduce to the show our very special guest. Whoa, Dr. Fahmida Suleman, welcome to the show.
Hello, hi, Kieran. So nice to be here.
We are very excited to have you on, another great special guest, ROM Curator with us today to talk about masks. I love your background as well. Keep calm and stay at home. That's certainly what this show was born out of. This show is a response to having to stay at home and do things from our households. So I really am excited to have you today, because we're going to talk about this a little bit, but you have an exhibit coming out next year all about masks, which is really exciting.
It's actually coming out this year. It's in September.
Whoa.
Right? Have fun during the summer, and then when school starts again, you need to book some time to come to the ROM, because we have a really exciting exhibition about our masks. We've collected over 200 masks from 22 countries around the world.
Whoa.
And each one has a beautiful story to tell. I know we're going to share some of those stories today, but I would really like it if you guys came and you brought your classmates and you brought your parents and your grandparents and your friends and everybody.
We can't wait to safely bring you back to the museum because we have so many cool exhibits that we cannot wait to show you. Today, though, we're talking about masks. Fahmida, why do we have to wear a mask?
Okay, so I know sometimes it can be a bit of a drag, but we all know it's scientifically proven that if you wear a mask, you not only protect yourself, but you protect your loved ones around you. Right, to sneeze, just the act of speaking can cause droplets to fly in the air across to your best friend. And if you happen to have the coronavirus in you and you don't quite know that you do, or if someone else does, then wearing that mask protects you and it protects them.
That is so good. So nice to see so many of our friends. Asher and Ethan, what's going on? Always great to have you with us. Masks are really important and they can prevent the spread of those droplets. So we're going to do a demonstration here, okay, to show you how masks work. I've done this once before. I'm not good at lighting matches. Like in our household, I don't light the match because I'm not good at it, but I'm being really safe. I got lots of space. Definitely no flammable things around us right here. And we're going to show you how masks work. So I got this super cool, really long match. Is this the right side? Yeah, it is. Whoa, there we go. There we go. Oh, where should I put this now? I'm just gonna put this right over here. There. Everything is safe and secure. If you're lighting a flame, make sure you're doing it with a trusted adult. Okay, that's very important. So we have, Fahmida, we have our candle here. It is lit. And so this is what we were talking about, right? Like you can be carrying COVID-19 and be asymptomatic, which means like you don't present any symptoms, all right? You don't feel it, but you can still have it. And so I'm gonna show you what happens when you blow out a candle. There you go, see? It goes out, and that's because like the force of me blowing air from my mouth can easily blow out that candle.
And you didn't even put a lot of pressure into that blowing, right? It was just a little poof, like a little birthday candle kind of blow.
Little birthday candle. So we're gonna try it again with a mask. So there, being really safe.
By the way, I love your mask, Kieran. Where's it from?
Thank you. My mom made this mask. My mom makes most of our masks. So thank you for noticing. She does a really good job. I think they look beautiful. Look at that. And it's like two-sided too, right? So very versatile. Can fit with anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have my mask on. And I'm only wearing one right now, but when I go into the world, I wear like 3. But let's see. Let's show what happens when you blow through a mask. Nothing, okay? And that is the power of a mask. And I'm like really bringing in a lot of air here and blowing with all of my force. Nothing. And that's the power of masks, friends, okay? And that's why we need to wear them, because it protects us from other people that might have it, and it protects other people in case we have it. Masks are so powerful. They're innovative. They are acts of resilience. They keep us safe. Okay, so now I hope everyone's learned this method as well, because I'm never going back to blowing out a birthday candle. But to get rid of a candle now, you clap your hands. Oh no! It's like I'm wearing a mask. There we go. We did it right there. So, masks. We know they're important. I'm really excited to have you all here. Let's talk about them. What's the history of masks?
Well, first I'm going to tell you, okay, pieces for resilience all the time, right?
Yeah.
Do we know what resilience means?
What does resilience
I'm going to
mean?
tell you, I have a demonstration of resilience, right? Like I've got my little, my hair tie here. See, I pull it and it goes back. Well, it's kind of really old, but resilience is like you spring back. You spring back into action. It could be an object or it could be an attitude, okay? And humans have a resilient attitude. Things knock us down, School canceled, museums closed, you're not able to go to the movie theater anymore. You can't, sometimes you're not even allowed to play outside with a large group of people. Birthday parties canceled indoors. But you know what? We take it in stride and we say, let's be resilient about this. We know that this is a moment in history that's going to come and it's going to go. Let's act safe, be respectful, love one another, care for one another, and then boom, that's resilience.
Oh, I love that. Take care of one another. And wearing a mask is an act of resilience because we are taking care of one another. I really like that. Okay, so with that, we've established our word of the day, resilience, everyone, and we are resilient by surviving and doing our best to help one another. What is the history of masks? Because I feel like for a lot of folks, this was like a brand new thing that outside of seeing it on like Scrubs or a medical show, it wasn't something that you saw a lot.
You'll be shocked to hear that even the Romans wore masks sometimes. They wore face coverings made of animal bladder skins, particularly when they were crushing toxic minerals like cinnabar and mercuric sulfide, for example. They made beautiful paints and pigments, but they realized that as they were crushing them, the fumes were poisonous. And so that's when they started covering their faces. It's really a kind of natural, a human instinct. Obviously, in the 1350s, there was a huge plague. They called it the Black Death. And it spread all across Europe, and many, many, many people passed away. But people started to wear face masks. It became quite widespread because suddenly people realized it's somehow connected to us smelling something or breathing something. And over time, are you showing that amazing picture of the beak mask?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that developed a bit later, around the 1600s, and it's a little scary looking, I know. They're kind of like peepholes where you can see through the mask, and the beak was functional. They would stuff the beak with really nice smelling spices and mint and so on, so that while you were breathing in nice things. So that's the 1350s. And then, of course, 1918, big year, where we had the big flu pandemic. Now, some people, they mistakenly call it the Spanish flu. And that's because it was documented in Spain. But really, it didn't originate in Spain. We don't know where it originated from. It could have been from many different countries. But this flu, once again, it's a bit like what's happening here. You know, people are getting very sick. People are being hospitalized. And some people are also, the vulnerable ones are passing away. So that was another time when people were wearing masks. And a little bit more recently, around 2003, there was the Sars epidemic again. And so people were, humans have been wearing masks for a very long time.
That was so interesting because I definitely knew about the plague doctors and I definitely know about the 1918 flu, but I never knew that going so far back in time, back to the ancient Romans, that they were wearing masks as well. Now, we were also talking before that a very famous artist also wore a mask.
Have you guys heard of Leonardo da Vinci? The great inventor, painter. He painted the Mona Lisa. He was so clever, obviously being an intellectual and inventor as well, that even when he was doing his painting or he was working with plaster, he would take cloth and he'd soak it in water and he'd cover his face because he realized that those fumes were toxic and they were bad for him. There again, just an example of resilience. He didn't stop painting. He's like, oh, this is toxic. Forget it. I'm not going to be a painter anymore. No. He said, all right, I got a solution to this. I'll make my own mask. I'll make my own homemade mask. Boom. They're done.
I love that. Just because life, hands us adversity and issues and problems, they are things that we need to overcome so that we can continue to thrive and help one another. That's so fascinating. Okay, much this is sort of my invention right here. Not to say by any means I'm Leonardo da Vinci, or even Leonardo the Ninja Turtle. So right there, I made my dinosaur, right? Because I love dinosaurs. You fan of the show, you know this. And then you open it up, and then you can see like the different pleats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the neck there, so I can have my expanding neck dinosaur, right? And so you can do a similar thing as well. Okay, let's dive into the show a little bit.
Okay.
There's a couple different sections, and one of the first sections is about heroes and warriors. Tell us about a very special mask from that section.
Okay, so the exhibition is divided into different themes. And so rather than just look at masks from a particular country in each theme, we thought, no, these themes, they cross each other. And so heroes, warriors, and these coronavirus villains is a really fun one, because we have masks that have images of Superman and Supergirl, but we also have a very interesting set of masks made by an Iranian graphic designer who's called Yazdan Saadi. And Yazdan's very clever, and he's a graphic artist. So his art is very much, it's almost like cartoon strips. It's very comical, it's very cheeky. And he has taken a character from a very important book in Iran. It's an epic. You know what an epic is, guys? It's like, an epic is like Gilgamesh or Beowulf or the Lord of the Rings. There are these really, really important big stories, and usually there's a hero who's on a quest, and he has a bunch of things that he needs to do to get the end of his quest. Well, this is the guy there that Kiran is showing you a picture of Rustam. Rustam is the hero of the Shahnameh. The Shahnameh is the Persian national epic. It's written in Farsi. It was written in around 1000 AD, okay? Now, Yazdan, because everyone in Iran and other countries in Central Asia, they love the Shahnameh. They actually memorized parts of the Shahnameh. And he said, look, guys, we need to wear masks. And he thought, how would I get my fellow Iranians to wear masks? Aha. He painted 7 different masks from 7 different episodes in the Shahnameh, because Rustam has to kill a dragon, he has to fight a witch, his amazing horse has to tackle a lion and kill the lion. And one of the scenes, Rustam has to fight a white demon. He's called the White Div. Okay, so that's that scary looking dude there. And so Yazdan has taken this image of Rustam and he's painted them on the masks, and he's trying to say to us, hey, imagine the demons or the dragons are the coronavirus. Imagine us as Rustam. We need to fight these demons and dragons by wearing a mask. That's how we can do it. And it's such a beautiful story. And the funny thing is, at the end, Rustam, he has to, it's kind of gory, guys, so get ready. He has to take a bit of the blood of the demon, and he has to spread it on the eyes of the king who's been blinded. And then the king, suddenly, miraculously, his sight comes back to, he comes back to life again. And what's interesting is, for our vaccine, our coronavirus vaccine, we have to take a little bit of that virus and we have to put it in our vaccine and inject it into ourselves. And hey, presto, we're immune. So I think it's a really beautiful story. And if you come to the exhibition in September, I will show you all 7 of these masks. And I have a really beautiful painting from the 1600s of that very same episode of Rustam fighting the white demon. So you'll see this really old, beautiful painting alongside these really cool, comical, almost comic strip-like masks.
I really like that. Let's get people to take part and do their part to, prevent the spread by sort of incorporating a superhero into this. Because really, you are a hero when you wear a mask, because you're helping to protect your family, your loved ones, anyone on the street. You are being a hero. So I really like how we were able to take Rustam here and get people excited to be just as heroic. Because, we don't have a demon we need to slay here. we have a pandemic and a virus that we need to fight back against, and we can be heroes by doing that, along with all like our frontline workers. Okay, there's another story that I find really interesting. This one's a Toronto connection, and so all of these masks are from around the world. Fahmida was saying at the top that over 20 countries are represented in masks that we've collected, because this is truly a worldwide thing. Everyone has to fight this together, and so we have masks from all over. This one has more of a Toronto or local connection.
That's right. Okay, it's designed by a Toronto designer called Nadia Lloyd, a very talented designer who makes a lot of interesting masks. Now, if I take you back to May 2020, a very tragic event happened, and that was the murder of Mr. George Floyd in the US. And as a result of that horrible event, there were mass protests all over the world, really, about Black Lives Matter. And so this episode really affected Nadia and also her little son. And so the two of them thought to themselves, we want to design a mask that represents how we're feeling right now, but we also want it to be very much tied to how beautiful Toronto is as a city, and how multicultural Toronto is, and how we together can make a better world. So that's why she created this amazing Black Lives Matter mask. And you can see it's got the power fist in the middle, but it has this amazing Toronto skyline with the CN Tower, which is totally recognizable there. And so she made these wonderful masks, and she thought of donating them to the Raptors basketball team. And she thought, how am I going to do that? And anyway, her masks were on her website and on social media. And then Nick Nurse and his wife, they contacted her, and they got a whole set of these masks for the Raptors team. So all the players were wearing them. They were wearing them when they were having their interviews on TV. And basically they went viral, and everybody loves those masks because they have such a positive message behind them. And every mask that you buy, $5, goes directly to charities related to Black Lives Matter. So they're masks for a very good cause. And that's one of the this mask falls in our theme called poetry and protest, because oftentimes we wear t-shirts that have amazing slogans on them, right? They have funny things written on them, or they have very serious messages: save the planet, save the pandas, whatever you feel like, emotionally you put on your t-shirt. So it's almost like the face mask has become the new t-shirt for people. You're able to express how you're feeling by what's written on your mask.
I really like that. This is a way for us to communicate. It's symbolism. It allows us to say things. It's almost like a billboard, right? And certainly over the pandemic, but also, for historically a long time, Black lives haven't been respected as much as other lives, right? And so it's really important that we find ways to support all different sorts of communities, but it's really, really important that we say with strength, with honor, with thought and respect that Black lives do matter, and that we do everything that we can to support everyone in our community, especially those that historically haven't received that type of support. So that's a really fascinating story. That's a Toronto story. I love it. She even made it on to the front of the Toronto Star right there as well with her mask. So that's really powerful. Thank you for that one. I really like that one. We're gonna tell one more story, okay? Because we've been talking about a lot of really cool things. We have our third one is about how we have this pandemic right now, but there's also more struggles happening in the world, right? And they sort of overlap a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this pandemic has really, really shone a light on the vulnerable people in our societies. People who are homeless, people who are older in age and can't get around, people with mental health issues, for example. And so what's happened is people have found ways of making masks that reflect that reality, that also help to give back to community. So the mask that I think you and I really liked was by Seema Hawari. She is a Toronto-based, yes, that's the one. She's a Toronto-based businesswoman designer, and she has designed these amazing masks made from a keffiyeh fabric. So keffiyeh, I think people will recognize this black and white checkered pattern. You often find it worn as a scarf or on, as like a kind of a head wrap around the Middle East, but also all over the world. And so Seema has teamed up with a Palestinian refugee camp in Jerash, in Jordan. And every mask that you buy from her pays for a meal for somebody in that Palestinian refugee camp. And that's very similar to the stories the local stories that you hear, where people have set up kind of almost like grassroots communities that make food, that make parcels of food that they're able to hand out to people who are more vulnerable. And it just shows you once again that we're having such a tough time right now. Things are really, really difficult for everybody, but it's somehow sparking a lot of love and compassion. And so I'm okay. I've got a roof over my head. I have food on the table. So what about my neighbor? What about that person I pass by on the street every day? How are they making ends meet? And I think that's one of the things that the pandemic has also highlighted for us.
That's really powerful. We all have to find ways to support folks around us. I remember at the beginning of all of this, the way that I thought I could help was by hosting a kids show on Instagram. That was like my little way of supporting. By no means am I like a garbage worker or like a healthcare provider or like any of those things, but this is like my small way to support our friends and neighbors and community, to hopefully bring you 30 minutes every Tuesday where we can hang out, tell stories about science, art, and history, do some projects, and just be together, right? But there's all sorts of ways. Maybe that's a way where you can support like a tiny fridge in small communities where folks can get access to food, right? Maybe that's a way that you can donate to different organizations that support unhoused folks. Maybe it's a way that you can help out and spread the word and get involved with supporting marginalized communities. These are all ways that you can help. And of course, on top of all of that, you're also going to wear your mask, all right, when you're out there and being safe. So my mask right here, I did another dinosaur one like that. I think it looks pretty poppin'. And then look, its neck goes way up, just like that. I love it. I think that's really, really cute. I hope your mask is going well as well. And remember, these are masks that you don't need to use, because as soon as you decorate them, you make it not work as effectively in preventing illness. Now, when I think about museums, and thank you so much, Fahmida, for joining us today, for telling all of these fascinating stories. When I think about museums, I find that they're full of stories about the past. And that could be stories from like ancient Egypt, that could be stories about dinosaurs or the Ice Age or animals that have gone extinct. I'm thinking about stories that happened in the past. But right now, you are creating a museum exhibit about stories that are happening right now. Why is it important for museums to tell modern stories too?
It's a really, really good question. Normally people think about museums, again, they look at the wonderful archaeological material, the ancient material. But a museum like the ROM, we are a global museum. And everything that we're collecting now, it's going to become part of the past at some point. Like all our viewers today, they're going to become moms and dads. They're going to become grandparents one day. And then their kids will say, Grandpa, tell me about COVID-19. Tell me about that pandemic. And so all the masks that we're collecting, they are documents of the pandemic. They're the material culture of the pandemic. If we don't collect them, then they'll be gone. That moment in history will have been erased. So this way, we can tell you, what did humans do around the world during the pandemic? How were they feeling? What were their actions? What was happening historically? And how did people express their resilience? How do they stick together, even at a time when you have to be apart, when you have to be 6 feet apart, and yet you're together,
I love that. Oh, okay. We have a really good question from the audience, and then we'll wrap up after that. Is there any specific story that really touched your heart that's in this exhibit?
Oh, there were so many stories that touched my heart. Do you know what, Kieran? There is a mask that we didn't get a chance to talk about, and that was the mask with the sacred medicines. I don't know if you can find that picture there. There's so many masks in the exhibition that touched my heart, but this was a very beautiful one as well because it's designed by two twin brothers who are indigenous, and Christopher and Gregory Mitchell. Their company is called Born in the North, and they're based in Toronto, but they're from the Mi'kmaq communities. And they have this wonderful logo with a beaver and a tree. But if you look very closely at the motifs on that mask, they've included the 3 sacred medicines: sage, sweetgrass, tobacco, and cedar. And each one of those medicines, they represent protection, purification, getting rid of negative energy, bringing in the positive energy, and communicating with the spirit world. And I just thought, that's amazing. Like, you don't have that physical object stuck to your mask, but just having images of it reminds you that there are so many other positive forces out there that'll help us get through our pandemic. And again, it's just a very beautiful and creative way of showing your own culture and your own identity through your mask. So, for example, Kieran loves dinosaurs. It's a no-brainer that he drew a dinosaur, because dinosaurs for him, they represent all kinds of important symbols, don't they? And so in the same way, you could be decorating your mask right now and putting a little symbol that is very personal to you. So yeah, thank you for that question. That was a great question.
So, masks, they're really important. This exhibit is really important too, because we can't ever forget that this happened. You know, this is something that happens in society and throughout history. We talked about the Black Death that happened. There's numerous plagues and infections that have spread throughout large communities throughout history. Certainly it was worldwide in 1918, 1919, and we can't ever forget. We can't forget about the lives that have been impacted, the lives that tragically have been lost. We can't ever forget about the heroic efforts of healthcare providers and vaccine experts and everyone that has put their entire being into protecting us and to try and solve this global crisis. We can't forget about everyday workers in our grocery stores that make sure that we can continue to eat food, and we can't forget about how this just has impacted so many. And so the way that we can do that, beyond wearing a mask and being safe and doing all of those things, but it's also by telling these stories, because it's through the power of story that we can remember. It's through the power of story that we won't forget that this happened, and it's through the power of story that we can hopefully prevent things like this from happening again. Dr. Fahmida Suleman, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been such a pleasure. And Kieran, you said this is your little way of contributing to the pandemic. This is not a little way. This is a really big thing that you've done. You've sacrificed a lot to make this program every single week. You've brought joy to people's lives. You've brought music. You've brought stories. You've brought science. You've brought history. Come on, man. I wouldn't shortchange you on that. You have done a fantastic job. And to all the people out there listening and the teachers, hats off to the teachers. My God, what you have done during this pandemic. You deserve every raise you asked for. I am your advocate on this matter. Just thank you so much, for everybody. And, peace be with you. And don't have to wear your mask, please.
Oh my gosh, you deserve every raise you asked for. I'll retweet that right there. That's it, everyone. We'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. on the show. We're going to talk all about insects with entomologist Antonia Guardati. She's coming back to the show, which we're really excited about. Remember, you can catch our shows up on YouTube as well. And with that, as I tell you every single week, stay safe, wear a mask. We love you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.